Welcome to Things I Think for 15 September 2020. Finally, I mentioned our Wall Street Journal article anniversary yesterday morning. If you never saw the page and you want to see the actual article, there's a link in the written version of things you can click on and it'll take you to it if you're a subscriber. And for the first time ever in the last 4 years, somebody wrote in to tell me the article introduced them to our work and they're still part of our community. So hallelujah. Here's Joel Short. Hi, Mark. After reading things today, I thought I'd drop you a quick line. It was 4 years ago that I learned about manager tools because I remember reading the article in the Wall Street Journal. I read the article, remember them saying something like, be a better manager than just 30 minutes a week. That was the headline. I remember thinking that seems like a bold claim, so I gave you all a listen. Soon after, I told colleagues at my organization at the time, Goshen College, and I got a couple of them hooked on manager tools. Every time I was in the car or mowing the lawn, I was listening to your cast. It then took me a couple of years to become a licensee, and I'm glad I did. Thanks, Joel. Thank you again, this time for kind wishes. Many of you have written me lately asking me about my status relative to the fires in California. Thank you for your thoughts and prayers. We are fine here. And for the rest of you, here's what I've been sending out. As far as the fires, I'm fine. Though as you can see below, the sky above my house last night was eerie. Actually, here's a picture of the color of the sky for a couple of nights out here. It looked very much like the recent picture in the Wall Street Journal of the San Francisco sky, which was even more orange in high definition. We actually had some fires much closer to us than they presently are a couple of weeks ago, within about 5 miles. But Pebble Beach is very nearly the ideal place to be during these fires. First, I live way out close to the ocean, in the middle of the peninsula. And it's really not obvious on the map if you look at Google Maps, but the peninsula is sort of cut off from the mainland by a pretty high ridge. I suppose you could look at 3D to see it. What that does, for us anyways, trap lots of moisture here around our house. We have fog nearly every day, and it almost never gets above 70 degrees here. 72 is hot. And the firefighters focus on protecting properties, obviously. And there's a lot of properties. There's Carmel or Monterey between the fires and the Monterey Peninsula. No question there's a risk of a fire if it started inside the ridge, here inside the forest, the Del Monte Forest, which is Pebble Beach. But I think it's only happened once in the last 50 years. By the way, the sky in that picture is from fires well north of us on the other side of Monterey Bay, north of Santa Cruz. And there was a big one as well, still burning now today, when you're reading this or listening to this on the 15th of September, down in Big Sur. I think probably over 100,000 acres down in Big Sur. And some homes and a firehouse actually burned down. Lesson learned. As I think I've said before here, no way I ever dreamed I'd be doing this email daily to nearly 40,000 people. Folks write in about all and sundry. As those of you who have written in can attest, at least I hope this is true, I write a specific personal response to everybody. I think because I'm a writer, I feel really attuned to canned responses. I don't use text expansion software, ever. I don't have a common signature like best or regards or stay frosty. It depends on the person, depends on me, depends on the tone of what somebody has written in about. Everyone says I should use text expansion stuff, but I don't. I made the decision to focus on effectiveness rather than efficiency, right or wrong. But I have learned that if there is something going on that folks generally know about that they think it affects me, something like the fires, which have been in the news, and we're a one paragraph answer that I could dash off fairly quickly and still make it custom, if that wouldn't be enough, especially if I'm writing to a friend, and I don't think of myself as writing bland corporate responses to your emails. I've got to have a little help. And so, in fact, what I read just above about the fires was something that I copied and pasted because it was 3 or 4 paragraphs. I never know what the topic is going to be. So somebody writes in and I say, oh yeah, I could see why they'd be writing in with that. So I write one response and assume that's all I'm getting. If I get 2, I probably write a fresh response again, and I'm kind of crossing my fingers, don't go to 3, but when I get to 3, I do copy and paste. Again, if it's more than a couple of paragraphs. I admit it, I do read your note, and I make sure that the note that I'm responding to, if it needs some edits to make it the right tone for our previous relationship or what have you, I try to do that. If you ever feel like you're getting a canned response from me, you're not. Maybe I'm just not having a good day. Probably funny only to me. I always think this is funny, by the way. Bertolt Brecht copyrighted his plays, and the most respected English translation of Karl Marx's Das Kapital and the Communist Manifesto are copyrighted. Stupid name, but a good thought. There's a concept in personal productivity and organizational theory as well called ego strength. It's a stupid name. But if you see it, don't dismiss it. When you see it, just translate it this way. As you make decisions, usually during the course of the day, you deplete your ability to make good decisions. Be careful about making too many decisions, and especially about delaying making big decisions until late in the day. Your ego strength, that's what they call it, will be low then, and you're more likely to make bad decisions. One of my Wall Street clients years ago implemented a policy that you couldn't risk more than 1 million US of the firm's capital on a decision communicated after 6 p.m. or you could escalate to get a boss at a higher level to approve that decision. They did it because they had data that decisions that are big and made late in the day had worse track records than similar decisions made earlier in the day. So it's a stupid name, ego strength, but it's a good thought to keep in the back of your mind about how you go through your professional day. See you tomorrow.